Jordan, can you hear me?
Hi there, I can hear you fine. You hear me?
Nice. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear Jordan?
Let's hope so.
Yeah,
And we can
let's.
we can both sit here with a glare of our screens and our glasses. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, today the lighting was good. Usually, I turn on this light and then it gets
Yeah.
worse on one side. But I'm
I, I
looking
I
at the
turned
white
this
background.
light behind me. It was directly in the camera's view, so I turned that down, and I think that made everything worse with the glare. Oh well, nothing much to do
Nice.
about it.
Yeah. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just had to cycle instead of take a little bit of a trip that I was expecting, but got here in the end. Glad I made it home in time for the show, eh?
Yeah, I'm glad you could make it.
And
So
I know you've been messaging me for a little while about it, but then my wife had her first kid, so I thought it was a little bit we could delay it a little bit. But she's away off to see the in-laws right now, so I'm home alone and happy to talk learning and Anki, which is what my real passion is, apart from obviously having a nice family and a job.
great. I remember you said it, or you mentioned it earlier, and I'm happy for you. Is it your first
Hmm?
time you're a father now, or
Yes,
nice?
4 months today. Very happy with it.
That's amazing. So
Hmm?
I prepared a few notes. So usually we've done a few podcasts on the stream before. They've mostly been about Norwegian and Anki. So
Uh-huh.
Alp and Guillem, two other people from the community, used to learn Norwegian, and we were facilitating it here on stream. And Guillem was also using Anki mostly, so that's what most people here are used to. But you're actually very interesting because you both have a developer experience, and you're using Anki, and you actually have a few interesting projects. So maybe you could introduce yourself to everybody who's watching here and probably on YouTube later.
Yeah, sure, that sounds good. My name is Jordan Munko here. I live in Denmark, and for the last year and a half, I've been working on my little side project, which I've deemed Brain Brew. I've called it. My intentions were that I always had some issues working in Anki in that I wanted to make cards in Anki itself, but I also wanted to make cards outside of Anki, and
Mm.
I really wanted just to have everything in source control in the first place because then you can properly share with other people. Then you have a bunch of people working on the same deck together, and collectively you start like getting some steam going and really getting something working. Each of you benefiting from each other's additions, corrections, or whatnot to the deck. But all of the systems I saw that were currently out there, like Gen Anki, Anki Deck Manager,
Mm.
or just a straight up import from CSV. I guess there's also a couple of things which allow you to import from Google Sheets and whatnot. Uh, all of those had in my mind the fatal flaw in that they were one direction and
Oh yeah,
also
yeah. I totally get
incredible.
that.
Yeah, uh, I sort of needed it to be both bi-directional,
Mm.
and I didn't want to be locked into one ecosystem as well, and then decide I don't really like Google Sheets. I'd like to move everything to this other system, and then suddenly I'm out of a tool because the tool was written specifically for that. Uh, so uh, in my free time, I decided, okay, I'll just make my own sort of system, and you know how it is with the oh I don't like any of the current standards. I'll just make my own standard, and then there's just one more standard. You know how that is. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
I really took that at heart when I tried to make this and tried to make it as modular as possible. So uh, as I said, throughout this last year and a half, I've made this little project which you can find on GitHub called Brain Brew. I'm sure I can give you the link and you can put it in the chats or whatnot.
Yeah. Just drop it in the chat, and I'll show
All
it up
right,
here on the screen. So that was
no
a lot of
problem.
interesting points, and yeah, we have to dive deeper in there because there's
Well,
a lot to jam
you
pack.
know, exactly. I haven't even told you what it does yet. I've just told you my motivation so far.
Yeah.
I do not seem to be able to drop it in the chat as I am not logged in yet. I will just ping it to you on Discord if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I think I have it here too. Thanks. So I'll
Perfect. Thank
I'll
you.
open it up. Let's see. So I'm using this tool for the first time. So please bear with me, people. I'm gonna make a ton of mistakes. Hopefully, I'll get it right after a few attempts. Let's see. So I'm just gonna try to share the screen here, and the link is
It's
right.
literally just GitHub and Brain Brew with my username. So
There. And let's see which. There we have
is
it.
it?
I think it should
You
show
said
up
this
now.
is your first time using a StreamYard, is it?
Yeah, StreamYard is the first time, so everything is a little bit different, but it's actually much nicer for talking like this and switching between the tabs. I think it should be up now. Can you see it?
I can see it. Yes, I've never used StreamYard either before. Oh, I'm seeing a little bit of an issue on your screen here. I'm fairly certain everyone else can see it too.
What's
You
the
seem
issue?
to be using light mode.
Light mode.
Yeah.
I don't
Ah.
mind the light mode, but I know some people. Okay, we're gonna change it. Like we
Okay.
actually,
Okay. Good. Fix it live. Thank you.
yeah. So how do we fix it? Is it on the front page? Maybe I think it's in the front
It's.
page.
I believe it's in your settings.
Let's see. Yeah, we can fix that. I know some
So just.
people care about it. I personally don't think it's overrated. Let's see. But we're gonna accommodate you, friends. Let's try again.
Hmm.
There. Now
Uh,
we have the dark mode.
there we go. I have an analogy for you, right? You don't think dark mode is worth it, but you could say the same about brushing your teeth, because I haven't brushed my teeth in 10 years and I feel fine, but it's not about the now, it's about the later and how it's going to deteriorate. So your eyes feel fine now, just you wait till in 10, 20 years and suddenly you have to wear blue lens glasses to cancel everything out, and
Oh yeah.
the barest like shade of light and suddenly you have a headache.
That's a fair point actually. I don't know what the long-term consequences are. I actually need to read up on that.
Hmm.
So, but I do, yeah, I've heard about people having issues with various screens and so on. I
Hmm.
need to read up on that. So, I think some people watching might like never have heard about Brain Brew. So basically, to break it down, right?
I would be surprised if I'd be surprised if one person had heard about it, but apart from you.
Yeah, so I scanned through the Anki ecosystem. So
Hmm.
I've learned about many projects, and actually I'm surprised to learn about there are other projects doing spaced repetition that you might have never heard about before that
Definitely.
have a community and have like their own application. But so Brain Brew basically it solves the problem of or one of the problems is solved. You need to create cards and you
Hmm.
need to share it and you need to have a source of truth, so you make changes and then it updates and the other way around, right? Or
That's the main thing that I feel that it solves for me personally. Yes. I, I'm going to be getting to eventually talking about the deck Ultimate Geography if you have
mm,
used that before. So throughout.
haven't used it, but I've seen it been mentioned, and I've seen one of the contributors in the project. I know like from a meetup from before, so
Okay.
that's how I
Uh,
know about the project.
one of the contributors, which one out of curiosity?
Yeah, I don't remember his name
Is it
actually.
Axelbog or
Yeah, yeah,
Applet?
yeah. It's Axelbog. I think
Oh, it's
that's his
Axelbog.
name.
Okay.
Yeah, he does Svelte stuff. So we met during a Jamstack meetup. And then I was looking at his GitHub profile. Then I saw this is stalker stuff that I do. But you get curious. What are people doing? You
Yeah.
click on their GitHub. You look at all of their commits for a period of
Hmm.
time. So that's
Oh, yeah.
why I
Look
learned
at all
about
of
that.
their commits. Sorry, that's a bit more stalkery than I was expecting, Alexander.
Yeah,
You just hop
maybe.
onto someone and start doing a code review.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna learn. You might learn something new. And so you decided to not use Genanki, and Genanki is actually a project we're using in the Notion to Anki project. For we didn't
Hmm.
start there, but we're using it for the conversion part. So we do a one way. But you're thinking of like, do you support biodirectional? Like, what's in there and how is it used?
So essentially, I started off using CrowdAnki, the extension, the add-on for Anki, which allows you to export your deck into JSON. Okay. Uh, However, crowd Anki is of course just for exporting. You can import a deck from crowd Anki, but uh, it's all in JSON and is terrible for actually managing anything or changing it by human control. So essentially, what BrainBrew does is it converts a deck from a crowd Anki export into uh, into a middle layer, which is a specific brain brew type, and then into CSVs. And I say CSV plural there to mean that you can have a repository with multiple CSV files that all get combined together into the one, uh, which is a bunch of different cards split up into what is special about it. So you can see this I was going to be bringing up the Ultimate Geography deck. It's the best example right now because I guess I'll just get to that part in that through while I was making Brain Brew, basically just for myself, so I could use it.
Mhm.
Then I like to frequent the Ultimate Geography repo. I've done a few pull requests there before of suggestions and discussions and whatnot, and they were currently having issues with or they were that the deck manager they were using called Anki DM, Anki Deck Manager, that was very limiting, and the CSV that they had that it took and generated an Anki, a crowd Anki export out of. The CSV, because they had about 5 languages at that point, had, I want to say, 50 to 60 columns. And it
Wow.
was absolutely massive, never ending, and it just got unwieldy to use. So adding in an extra translation was kind of hell to see anything because it would be all country, German country, Spanish country, French country. You had to scroll 6 more times to get to capital, and then 6 more times after that to get to the next actually important thing for what you wanted. Uh, so this is where I came in to suggest, well, uh, how about I just finish up what I'm doing here with Rainbrew, and we can convert over Ultimate Geography to use it, where it'll fix the problem of how information is stored, because you can just split up those CSV files into multiple. And if you want to show it on the screen, you can go look at the Ultimate Geography repo right now, and
Yeah, I think we have it here up now. So
yeah,
basically, for the so it's a repository that has all of the countries.
all the countries, capitals, flags, and locations in the world. As for some of the smaller ones that aren't actually very important or very many people are there, it may only have the country and the capital
Mm.
uh, and the location, I
Country.
suppose.
Yeah, so this is something people are interested in learning, and I've also I struggle with geography.
Yeah.
It's like there are countries I'm learning about throughout my lifetime, so like I've never heard about them. And so like, have you gone through this deck and memorized everything, or
I know the entire deck. Yes, I finished that a year ago. It took me about 8 months to learn. I was basically doing about an average 5 cards a day. As in 5 new cards a day. That is.
wow.
Uh, lot like I'd say about 5% of the deck is still in the hazy zone of interference and getting mixed up in my head. Oh God, you never you don't know how many countries have incredibly similar flags. Jesus, it is so terrible. If you want to quickly Google right now,
Yeah,
one of
sure.
the perfect examples is Poland, Indonesia, and Monaco.
So
You can
Poland
you can
in
you can just type all three of those in one search: Poland, Indonesia, Monaco, flag.
now we're gonna see my dyslexia kick in, guys. Let's see,
Just
Monaco,
one,
and
yes,
then I
yeah,
think this one is. Looks like the same flag. This looks like
yes.
exactly the same flag.
Yes. Oh, I suppose I should have thrown Singapore in there too.
Whoa.
So Monaco is just the flag of Indonesia, except a little bit darker and also a little bit narrower, which I didn't know before that flags could be just narrower, but they can. And Poland is just Indonesia
Oh
upside
my
down.
god. Yeah. These are subtle changes. Like,
Yeah.
so how are you
Uh,
memorizing them? Or is it like using mnemonics, or like is there something special with the geography deck that makes this better or easier?
no. There are no mnemonics or whatnot built into Ultimate Geography, the deck, and the repository right now. Everyone has to learn them individually. But perhaps that brings me to one of the points of a Brain Brew that I wanted to make good. So. There are three main points to Brain Brew of what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to allow people to have a choice between source control or Anki for
Mm.
editing and changing things. I've already covered that extensively, and I'll finish up with that to talk about the Ultimate Geography repo in a second. But displayed there with the different flags and whatnot, you can understand that many people would want to have their own different mnemonics, their own different perhaps like a memory. You know, you want to write something personal there to say, yes, of course, this is the country next to Azerbaijan. I remember when I was there with Tom. You know,
Mm.
and how do you have that in your own card, but also get your cards from a repo and maybe even send up your updates to the repo as well? That's one of the other things that I wanted to fix. That partly Brain Brew and partly a feature request I made to CrowdAnki. I have fixed that with personal fields. So, have you ever used CrowdAnki before?
No, I actually, to be honest, I've never used CrowdAnki. Like, I've seen it mentioned on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like a web application, or is it just a plugin?
It's an Anki add-on.
Okay.
So what the Anki add-on will do is it will add some extra options into your into your Anki what was it called, a file and whatnot, for export or import with CrowdAnki, and then that will create uh, a JSON with all of your deck data in it, with the deck name, all of the note models, all of the cards and fields and whatnot.
Mm.
Uh, and I added in into CrowdAnki a thing called personal fields, which essentially allows you to mark certain fields in an import or export as personal, which just means this is my information. Don't export that, or this is my information in these fields. Whenever you take this import, say from Ultimate Geography, don't overwrite these fields.
Yeah. So, but I understand the problem. Like, basically the problem is that you have something that's changing. You have a
Yep.
data source which is changing, and
Yep.
you just want some changes on top of that data, and you want to still keep the changes. So you
You
need a
want to keep
way.
your own changes while merging their
Yeah. Yeah.
changes
Exactly. Yeah.
as a
Yes.
user.
Mm. So the like if you look at for example the Linux and Linux distributions, right? They have multiple
Mm-hmm.
different versions of software. So the way, like, I used to be a Debian maintainer before. I'm retired now. So
Yep.
then what we did there was you had basically patches. So you made your changes, and then your patches were applied on top, right? So you would keep track of the patches. So it's
Mm-hmm.
basically I get the idea, and so it's actually a good problem to have solved. But I haven't
Yeah.
used CrowdOnky, so I can't like see like it seems like a useful tool. Is it used a lot in the Anki?
I would say so. Yes. Definitely. What CrowdAnki allows random users to do who may have, just a smidge of experience with GitHub, is to just store all of their Anki repository in GitHub, or in any source control, I suppose, simply by exporting it as a JSON. Then you can still, even though it's not pretty, you can see changes over time in a JSON file compared to having a SQLite database stored in there.
Mm, it's much more heavy. Anything that's even if it is a text file, it's more obscure.
Mm. Definitely. So crowd Anki is good for that, but it has its limitations. Some things I'm annoyed with by it. But uh, let me just get to the philosophy of what I was saying before about Brain Brew in terms of trying to make it as modular as possible. So I mentioned before how currently what it does is it converts things from crowd Anki to this middle layer, and then
Mm.
from that to CSVs. Okay, let's just hold those three steps in mind right now. But first, let's finish one of the previous thoughts, because I can go on 12 tangents throughout all of this, Alexander. And please, if I go on a tangent, feel free and reel me back in.
Yeah.
but
I have a few notes, and I'll definitely get back to those later.
but would you mind just going back to the ultimate geography repository quickly?
Yeah. So let's see.
So
Now we're in here.
what I wanted you to go to, this is Brain Brew, I believe.
Yeah. I'm just gonna find a link
Ah, there
there.
we go. Yes. So what I wanted you to go to was into the source.
Yeah. Let's jump to the source. Do you have a file
Uh,
name?
no, it was just right there. Just I mean the folder source. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I see.
Sorry, I should have specified. Data.
Data.
Yes.
Ah,
Okay.
there.
So now there are a multitude of CSV files here. Main, GUID, capital, country, etc. So if you go into main, as it is named, it is the main one. This is just a CSV of
Nice.
the country, the picture of the flag, the picture of the map, and the tags. Okay, that's all this is. If you come out of this and go into capital,
The top one. Yeah. Capital.
yes. So now you'll see that country is the first field here. Okay, the first column. Then the rest of it is only capital for every translation. And you can't see right now because GitHub is not very good at displaying CSVs with lots of horizontal space. But there are 9 translations now. You can click and highlight and drag to the right, and I believe it will scroll for you.
Amazing. No, I'm not familiar with
No,
this UI actually. I didn't even
s-
know GitHub had this.
scroll all the way to the bottom.
There,
There we go.
there.
There we go. Yeah. So there are 9 translations now, and so Brain Brew was pulled about a month ago, and ever since then, some nice maintainers have finished up some of their translations, and we've pulled that into the main deck. So we went from 5 to 9 translations, and it's just as simple as in each of these derivative CSV files, the derivatives being anything that isn't the main.
Hmm.
Just add a column with your translation data for each of the types. For capital, which is a field in the Anki model for the Crowd Anki deck. Uh, Country, another field. Flag, another. Map, the last field. That's all you need to do, and then that's a new language of translation. There's a little bit to do in the builder, but we maintainers take care of that. So in this way, the data is separated in a much more easily readable manner. And just to clarify, there's really no reason that I did it like this of capital, country, flag, etc. I just thought that was nice. But
Hmm.
one of the flexibility of Brain Brew and these multiple CSVs is that I could have done it the exact opposite way. I could have had one CSV for French with the French capital, country, flag, etc. I could have had another one for Russian, another one for Finnish. I mean, probably if we keep adding 12
Yeah. So
translations,
so
maybe
let's say
maybe
let's
that's
say you
actually easier.
wanted to add another translation instead.
Yeah,
Like, I don't understand how flexible BrainBrew is. Like, could you now easily say the translation is in another CSV file, or does it
yeah.
have to be a column?
It does not have to be a column. There is actually not even any mappings that need to be done if it was different. So come out of this into the main source. Actually, the
Source
main the top level. Sorry, I meant to say the top level.
is
Into recipes, the folder,
recipes.
the
There.
very top. So my program is called Brain Brew, and in order to brew something, you require a recipe. This is just my little word for a task builder or things to do.
Hmm.
You can go into the file source to Anki.
Source to Anki, this one.
Yes, so this is a YAML file, which tells Brain Brew how to build things. You can ignore all the top parts. They're just about turning note models into the correct thing. These are just things that CrowdAnki requires, and it's specifying exactly what the note has in it in terms of fields. So you could just scroll down from here. Note model, blah blah blah. So notes from CSV. Here we go. This is the interesting part.
Yeah, there.
So
Let me position it, the cursor there. Now we can see it.
yes. So this here says take notes from CSVs. It takes a mapping, a note model mapping, which is to say, uh, how do the CSV columns map up to the fields in Anki for the note model? And for English, it's pretty damn simple. It's the GUID to the GUID, country to the country info to country info, etc. All of them just match one to one. If you scroll down until the next notes from CSV, you'll see, I believe that's the German one just after this. Yes, there we go. And just go to that. You'll see it's a country colon DE for German. You see that? Yes.
This one, yeah. Line
Yeah.
115.
Yeah. So this and the heading there is titled columns to fields. Okay, so the CSV column country DE matches the field in the note model country. Okay.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. And if you scroll back up to the English one, there's a little bit of copying there. Go down to the next one after note model mapping, file mapping.
File mappings there, yeah.
So the file mapping says take the main CSV. The main CSV is of type note model type ultimate geography, which is just the name of the note model used. And here are all the CSVs that are derivatives of it. So what it does is the main file includes any number of columns. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really care. But what it looks for in the CSVs is a matching of any of those columns. So we looked before into capital, right? And the first column in capital was country. Then it was the capital in English, German, Spanish, etc. Yes. So
yeah, but I think so. I don't remember the exact order, but it sounds correct.
yeah. It doesn't really matter. The most important thing here that I'm trying to clarify is that country was in the capital CSV file, right? The reason that was there was so that Brain Brew can match it, so that Brain Brew can find a match in the main.
Yeah, so wait, let me just jump to the main one just quickly, just to look at it. The main CSV.
Perhaps if you do, you could keep what was just open there on a separate tab, and then you can flick between.
Yeah, let's see. There's country is occurring a lot here, so
Little further down to you can search file mapping and you'll find it. There we go.
I can try to maybe I should try to switch to a window mode. Then I think the tabs will work. Because I think we're just sharing a tab right now, right? We're just let me try something. I'll try to share the whole window, so it's gonna be visual there. Because we're not playing any sound, so it should be fine. There. Now I think you should see tabs. Can you guys see tabs?
I can see the tabs.
Amazing. So then we should be able to switch between a CSV file too.
Okay, so you have the main here. Yes, perfect. So, oh, I'm getting a pop-up. That's not okay.
What's up?
Nothing. It's all good.
So here is the file mappings.
So the file mapping has the main one as the main one there, and the derivatives are just all the other ones. Okay. So if you look at main,
the main CSV here,
it has country as a column. It also has flags, map, tags, etc. But
Mm.
those are unimportant for what I'm trying to discuss. So country is here, and every single country in the deck is in this list.
Yeah.
Okay. Then if you go to the next one, which I don't know, capital, for instance.
Capital CSV.
Uh-huh. So capital has country again. Now, the only reason to include country there is so that it can find a match. Now, I think this might be a bit clearer if we come one folder up from this.
One folder
And,
up into the
yes.
data.
And instead of going into country, perhaps go into capital hint. That is a good one to explain
Capital
this.
hint.
Yes. So this one is incredibly short. There are only 5 columns. Right?
Yeah.
So again, the capital hint for every country in the deck, for every capital in the deck, I suppose, is here. But there are only 5 of them that we want to give a hint to. So the country is there as well, so that what Brain Brew does is it takes the main and it says, here's all the data objects. Okay, give me the next derivative. The next derivative is a capital hint. Okay, this first line of capital hint, England. Well, I suppose I should say, uh, does capital hint have any columns in common with main? It has country. It has country only. Okay, so for each of the rows in here, uh, can I find a match for country England? Okay, England is here in the capital hint. Do I have that in the main? Yes. Okay, then I'll take the existence of the one already in main and give it all the rest of the columns that I didn't find a match for. So the England entry in main then gets given the columns capital hint German, capital hint Spanish, etc. It just joins the data together.
Yeah, so basically country is like a key value pair, like it's the ID you
Yes.
use. It's an
Yes.
association. That's how you keep track of it.
Exactly. But I brought you to this one here to specify you don't have to have a match. Matches are optional. There is no entry here for Scotland, for instance, because there was no need for a capital hint for Scotland.
Yeah, because this is an edge case, right? It has a special meaning.
Yes.
So it
So
would.
in the previous deck, where how everything worked, we had a column for capital hint, and that column was mainly empty. Every one was empty apart from 5 entries.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So this is actually a benefit with this solution because in the
Yes.
old system you had to have all the columns, one place, one source of truth. But here you could
Yes.
actually have, now I'm starting to see the benefit of Brain Brew. I didn't get that in the
Here
beginning.
it's not only that you can split them up separately and then join them together, it's that you can get rid of the useless ones that you don't need.
Mm. Exactly. So you can structure your data the way you want it, and
Yes. So if you go back to the recipe one, the first tab. So again here, the file mapping gets the main and maps it to the derivatives. So if this was a more strict system, it would ask you, okay, for this file, capital hint, what do you want to match it to? Okay, what should I do if there isn't a match? What should I do if I expected a match, etc. I did not add any of that in purposefully. All Brain Brew does is it looks for the matches in the main. It looks to see if any of the columns in the main exist in the derivatives, and if so, it will try to match all of those columns. If I put in if I put into capital hint uh, both the country and the capital field, which the capital field doesn't really need to be there, it would see, okay, I'll try and match this to the ones where both the country and the capital match. And if I find a match, I'll add all the rest of the data from that match onto this entry.
Yeah, I think I get it roughly. But so if we let's see. So the file names don't really matter because everything is going
Not
to
at
be
all.
read regardless, and then the main is going to be used. So let me just open up the main again.
And again, main is just called main because in that YAML file, I say read the main. You can name it anything that you want. You can place it in any folder you want. There are no strict conventions in that way. Nothing hard coded. Do whatever the hell you like.
Yeah.
What are you looking at just now? Capital info.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the first column, the column names. I was just thinking if they're like, so it doesn't matter. There's no case sensitivity here.
There is currently no case sensitivity, but someone asked me to add that. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, because it like that makes stuff like it's just one thing and then it's different, right? If you're
Yes.
using, I don't know, I haven't looked at the implementation, but if it was case sensitive, what would that change? Would that change much?
No, not really.
Yeah, this seems cool. I definitely want to try out Brain Brew in a project just to see how it feels like to use it. Because
I'll,
it,
I'll 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 get to that in a second. I have a recommendation for you then. But before we move on, then you'll
mm,
see there just above file mapping, there's also personal fields.
it's, yeah,
Just
right above.
so I was discussing before there about my addition to CrowdAnki for personal fields. Essentially, this is how you use that here. If for turning a CSV, for instance, right now into a note model, into CrowdAnki, then let's say in Ultimate Geography soon we're going to add a personal notes field. Okay, which I would very much like. So we'll see if that actually gets done. But let's say you want some personal fields for each of your countries. You say, I remember when I was in Monaco, for instance. Then what you would do is at this point here, as maintainers of Ultimate Geography, we would just add another field there called personal fields. That's it. It's a field with no data, and then it adds a tag into the export to say, don't read this in CrowdAnki. Don't override users' data.
Hmm.
However, when you do an import in CrowdAnki now, you get an import window pop up asking you about a couple of options for the import. One of those is personal fields at the bottom. All BrainBrew will do is auto populate that with the things that the export or the maintainers believe should be personal fields, but is entirely configurable by the user. They can mark that as non-personal. They can do whatever they like when they import it themselves. The main thing I'm going for here is user choice.
Nice.
And that, I suppose I should have said earlier, is why BrainBrew is entirely open source.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Hmm?
I hope to try it out and see like if there are some use cases where because like this seems like you have users managing the source of truth, right? So I'm not sure like if it's possible for me to use this like for example in Notion to Anki where the source of truth is Notion, right? The data is
Uh-huh.
coming in from Notion, and then you potentially have the Anki database as a source. So
So here is how that would happen from my perspective. Uh, with Brain Brew, I've had people ask about this about the source of truth here. I don't think there should be a source of truth created and dictated by the tool creators. I think depending upon the system or the people who are using it, you can have a system working where people can make changes. Say if they have a I don't know a script to generate translations from websites and whatnot, they
mm,
can add things to the GitHub repository into these CSVs or whatnot, what have you, as well as users doing their daily flashcards go, oh, this is an error. I can see this here. I'll just change this now while I'm at it, rather than trying to write it down or think about it later on. Uh, I think those two things can come together to get both those sets of changes because, uh, like source control change diffs are very powerful nowadays, especially if it's just like a user making a couple of edits on their phone, and
Mm.
it's not that big of a deal. Uh, all that is a merge in GitHub. I think that should be an option for people to use. And in Brain Brew, if you want to have a source of truth, go for it. Just don't use the bidirectional import, which I guess we haven't really talked about.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the bidirectional import.
So this is going to surprise you. It's exactly the same as what you're looking at right now. If you just hit back once,
You navigate back.
yeah, instead of source to Anki, go source from Anki. A bunch of oh no, notes from CrowdAnki. Okay. Uh, so that one right there, the very first one, build parts notes from CrowdAnki. What that does is it takes the notes from a CrowdAnki export and turns that into a note you're supposed to use in this Brain Brew format. Then if you scroll down a bit more, there's a generate CSVs right there, and it's the exact same. It's the note model mapping saying what note model is, the columns to fields again, and again, it's the exact same for English, and then map it to the files. And BrainBrew does everything for you in terms of mapping everything. It finds as long as your uh, note model mapping is correct, then and all of the columns can be found in the CSVs provided, then it will override entries that currently exist, comparing them with the GUID, and it will add entries that don't exist. There's no extra effort required.
This looks. I have to play around with it, but to understand like the maintainers from the Geography Ultimate Geography
Uh-huh.
repository. So, do they do work in Anki and then export and then use tooling and then commit CSV files, or do they manipulate CSV files or these YAML files directly? Like, what are they doing?
Uh, Nobody edits the YAML files, just the CSV files. Uh, the YAML recipe files are really just for the nerdiest maintainers to say this is how the deck should work.
Yeah, so
For
this is
people,
stable. This syntax is stable. It's not changing.
yes, pretty
Okay.
much. Uh, for the CSVs, which by the way don't have to be the only type. I'll get to that, I suppose. For the CSVs, people make edits to them when they have suggestions to say change this. This capital is wrong, for instance. But really, most of those types of changes are made by three guys. Me being the one who makes the least changes in there. Axel Bock and Aplace. And people just make an issue on the GitHub repo themselves. Apart from the translations, those are the only things that other people do make big efforts in, and thank you to them again. And the last I mentioned there that we were at 5 translations before
Now
with
it's
Anki
9.
DM. Now it's 9.
Yeah, that's really
So
a good job.
so this last month, as I said, 4 extra ones. They were mostly ready in the pipeline and just waiting for Brain Brew to be ready. So all that they did when Brain Brew was ready was I gave them a set of instructions on how to do this and take their data. And really, all they did was add in those extra columns into all the CSVs with their translation. There was one tricky one where there was an issue because of someone made it beforehand in the previous system, but I just got them to export a current version of their deck, and then I manually did a source from CrowdAnki, which I added in the empty columns with no data, then did a source from CrowdAnki, which filled all the data in for me.
Nice. So I'm actually very curious about that. So the process, like you were involved in the project from before, and then you noticed the problem, right, with the spreadsheet. And then can you walk us through how you like the process? Did you start discussing it in the community and then start working on Brain Brew, or what was the order?
Well, I'd just like to say that I am now a contributor on Ultimate Geography, but I take no like responsibility there for it. All of it to begin with was Axel Bock doing his thing, and I thank him very much for that. And Apple's for all the goddamn changes he does. Guy's a fucking machine. It's great. I love the guy. Yes, but for the actual issue itself that you're asking about, it was an ongoing discussion in one of the issues for a long time, and saying that makes it sound like quite formal, and like yes, we all got together and agreed something had to be done. It's a bunch of guys sitting on the internet saying, I don't think this thing should be like this. It would be better like this,
Yeah, yeah.
So it I guess even the framing of you asking the question, yeah. So some people thought things could be better and were annoyed by it. Then a bunch of suggestions were suggested. One of
Yeah,
them was
like
mine.
yeah, I get that. Like I've been involved in several open source projects, and I've seen sometimes it's kind of difficult to get some stuff. Other projects, it's straightforward.
Yep.
And considering this project seems to be used by many users, I thought maybe there was an interesting story to tell on how you got your project to get used there, because now it's gonna, like, this deck is used by many people around the world, I guess.
Many people, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as I said, it's just the other two guys that do most of the effort there, and I suppose I made my original pitch in one of the conversations, along the lines of what I've just been saying to you. How imagine we could split up all the cards into different things, and imagine it worked bi-directionally. Wouldn't that be great? To which a very polite, sounds great. If that works, let's do it when it does. So I went and made it work, and was very happy with it. Then a very long GitHub issue conversation later. I believe that's issue number 1 in Brain Brew. It's a very, very long page. Don't go read that.
Okay, I'm not gonna show that.
Of discussion of exactly like the perfect scenario of how this could work. A long conversation later, we worked it out, and what I hope is the future of Brain Brew, and what I was. So currently, I've made improvements to Ultimate Geography with Brain Brew, right, and it's definitely better. But that's not the only place that I see it going. What I was proposing is a more federated type of deck, a federation of geography repositories. So one of the most common requests on Ultimate Geography is, could you add this as a column? Things like the IPA, the audio pronunciation, I don't know, number of people that live in the country, number of neighbors, etc., land mass, and the main the main maintainers have been going more for a minimal as possible approach, just for actual feasibility purposes. And there's a lot of interest in more stuff for this, but there isn't the tools to provide that. So when I say a federation, a more federated type of deck, what I imagine is uh, let's let's take the IPA for instance, the International Phonetic Alphabet. So I like to have a I like to be able to pronounce the country, right? I know there's a lot of them that I can't pronounce because I haven't been properly learning it just now. So I would like to have an IPA for each of the cards,
Yeah.
each of the notes. However, not everyone wants that. Not everybody wants the International Phonetic Alphabet. Not everyone knows how to read it. So what do you do for that split?
Yeah, I'm just changing the windows around. So for
Yeah,
that
so
split, yeah, but like if you're able to merge data, right? You can have upstream data which is pristine, and then you can have personal fields. Can't you use the personal fields for that, and then these other people can maintain their own, like their own version which updates the personal field, and then dictate that the section of the personal fields is dedicated for that use case?
The current issue with personal fields is it was intended for notes, but also for images or copyrighted files. Uh, so it's always intended to be a part of the note model in everyone's card. Say for instance, if you're learning Danish, I'm here in Denmark learning Danish,
Mm.
and I have I don't know an Anki note for a banana, and I want to have a picture of banana. I'll just go to Google Images, take a random picture of a banana, and put that
Copy
on there,
paste.
right? Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. That's what everyone does, as far as I'm aware. But I, there's then an issue of I can't really go and then share my Danish deck out to other people
Um,
with that banana picture. Uh, the intention for that there is that I mark the image column as personal, and then every individual user can can make their own image, can export it without the images, can import the new data without overriding their images. So it was always intended for the each of the users' note models to be identical still. However, you're on the right track of where I was wanting you to go there. Of it, can't you just take the upstream data and whatnot? So, uh, where I hope to eventually be going with Brain Brew in this is that uh, for all my geography, for instance, if I want to have international phonetic alphabet, and let's say there's 5 other people who want to help me on this GitHub repository, they wanna help me out, maintain it, make changes and whatnot. Then we can have our own GitHub repository of all my geography, international phonetic alphabet, which, just as I've showed you before with Brain Brew, there takes the country as a matching key and an IPA, and then all you would do to make an export is to say, take the data from all my geography, then combine that with this extra part, which will just be a separate YAML file to say, also add in this CSV, and then make a deck out of that. So the new repository, all it has is the changes to the original repository, and then users can choose. The users can choose it like a tick box. They can say, "I want ultimate geography. Do I want international phonetic alphabet? Yeah, no. I'll take the landmass and the number of people though. Done. Okay, perfect. Oh, I've made some changes. I'd like to update that to ultimate geography. Boop. I'll send that file off, and then GitHub looks at that. Sorry, Brainbrew looks at that on the import and goes, okay, it has country, capital, flag, location, and there's a bunch of other columns. I don't really know what those are. Oh well, they were never mapped, so I don't care about them. I'll ignore them. Then everything gets imported normally. Those users can interact with the original Ultimate Geography repo. They can interact with the new one that for International Phonetic Alphabet. It just, you tell Brain Brew, I'm interested in these columns or these fields in the CSV or the CrowdAnki, and that's all it cares about. And then if you can combine the two kind of like Lego pieces, say I want this and this and that, then the main Ultimate Geography repo can be just a standalone. This is the normal pristine data, and other users can add things to it as they want. In that very long chat, I advise that you don't read. I suggested this, and Axel Bock is happy, or he was already looking to this, to turn Ultimate Geography into not just a GitHub repo, but a, what do you call it? A group. What are they called in GitHub again? Now I have to check. I'm
Discussions.
in.
Discussions.
No,
What are you
it
thinking about?
is. It is called a team? No, it's not a team. Where the hell are mine? I was
Projects.
no
GitHub has
organization.
organization. Yeah.
Yes. So into a, like a bundle of connected repositories that all have some point to them, all some shared theme. So in that would be the main Ultimate Geography repo, and another repo in that organization would be anything that the users want, anything that people have the time and willpower to maintain. Then my hope is that if you wanted to do an import into CrowdAnki, it would via CrowdAnki or into Anki itself, it would say you want Ultimate Geography. Would you like to add these extra options? And just do it for you.
I see. Yeah, it definitely sounds powerful. You could also build graphical user interfaces on top and then have Brain Brew do a lot of the work and then just hide away stuff. So, yeah, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
I've been playing with the idea of just turning Brain Brew into an Anki add-on itself,
Mm.
because it's all written in Python. There's absolutely nothing stopping me from making an add-on, and I've made changes to add-ons in the past. I don't know. It just seems like an extra step. At some point, it's going to have to be that if I want this federation to work. And I suppose that brings me to what I was trying to bring up before there of a suggestion for you if you want to try Brain Brew, right? Which
There is
is,
a starter project, right?
yes, my advising is don't use that right now.
No, okay, that's the one
Yes.
I thought you were gonna recommend.
Yes. That one is a little bit out of date. It was the main working one 4 or 5 months ago, before I made a bunch of changes in the process of getting everything working with Ultimate Geography and having a kid in the process. So it's a little bit out of date. Uh, what I would advise is wait a couple of weeks, okay? Because the next thing that I'm working on right now in Brain Brew is just an like repository init command. Is a all you will be required to do is to export your deck or whatever in with CrowdAnki, and then you can install Brain Brew via pip. Just pip install Brain Brew in any empty GitHub repository, and then you would just say Brain Brew init and point it to your CrowdAnki file, and then it will build you a working repository with a working YAML file that converts everything from Brain Brew in both directions, with the correct fields already mapped and the CSVs already made for you.
Nice.
The purpose of that is that uh, I'm quite bad with documentation right now, and uh, I Ultimate Geography is the best example of things working there, and it's great. However, it's a little bit overpowered for the normal user. It does a couple of extra things, and also it makes 9 decks.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
So it's
that
more customized, right? The
it's a
average
lot
use
more
case.
customized. Yes,
Yeah,
the main user just needs a recipe to say, here are my notes. This is how they map to the CSVs, and here is the CSV with the data in it. Then they can edit one, send it to the other, and back and forth. That's all the main user needs. So I hope that I can make this init file, init command, sorry, in order to just to speed run. I was going to say, very quickly get that done for someone.
yeah. I think that's a really good idea. Also for
Hmm.
if you want anyone to get started on your project, and yeah,
Yeah.
documentation is good, but like if you give somebody's working example, that's even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they can start playing around, changing stuff. It's like you ask yourself, you're looking at a new project, like how do I use this thing? So if you
Exactly.
could
So,
just
so, so
write
what I'm gonna
init.
do in this next few weeks is finish that up. This change I'm making, update the Brain Brew starter with that, and I'll just add a random deck into there to say, look, this is the deck converting back and forth. It's very easy. And then I suppose I'll give you a ping at that point.
Yeah, please do. I would love to try it out because I have like from my project, I get Notion to Anki.
Hmm.
I get to talk to Anki users all around the
Yep.
world, and they tell me stuff. And one like there are a few use cases, but one that keeps on coming up, which is going from Anki to Notion. So
Hmm.
I want to figure out like a process for those users. Do you have any thoughts around that?
I have a good couple of thoughts around that you might be interested in. So, uh, I mentioned before that I would get to this point. Again, meandering point after point after point here, but finally gone to this. Uh, have you considered using Brain Brew in Notion Tanky?
Right now, I haven't evaluated Brain Brew
Oh, of
for
course, of
it,
course.
but
What I'm asking is, did you know that that was possible?
I think we talked about it in chat. So
Hmm.
I have noted it down as a potential project to use, but it seemed early stage when I was looking at it initially, right? So
Probably, yeah.
yeah, I don't even think it was used in the Ultimate uh, Geography project. Is that
If that
correct?
was
Or am I?
5 months ago, then no. It only got
Yeah,
fully pulled in about a month ago.
yeah, 5 months ago. So like I've been looking at many projects or Anki projects, and
So,
I started doing that in April last year. I think that's when
yeah.
I started compiling my list, and I think that's when I discovered your project.
I mean, yeah. If you compile a list of all the different projects which change some type of Anki data into some other one, you'll get about 57 that do Markdown in some format
Oh,
into Anki.
Markdown is the
Yeah,
dominating like that. It's
yeah.
yeah. There's nothing wrong
And
with that, but yeah.
yeah. But there's like 57 of them, all doing it slightly differently. And then there's Jen Anki, Anki DM, and a bunch of other ones. Uh, so all I wanted to say there was that yeah, the three layers. So I mentioned this earlier as a thing to hold in your mind. So there's Crowd Anki, which is what I convert everything into and from, which then allows me to take it into Anki, right? Then there's my Brain Brew middle layer, and then CSVs. Okay. When I created this, I never intended for CSVs to be the main thing that everyone uses. It was just the simplest right now that got things working and allowed me to make my little derivative setup here where you can split things up, which makes that easier than and then it automatically joins it back together for you,
Mm.
right? Uh, but the reason I built it in this like middle layer setup, rather than just say convert what do you call it? Convert crowd Anki to CSV, is because I always intended to add more source types. Say, I've gotten requests for YAML, say Notion itself, Rome, etc. Uh, I see that very close on the horizon for myself right now. I'm a big Rome user. Do you what do you use for note taking, Alexander? Let's go on
Uh,
another tangent.
yeah, sure. I use Notion primarily and a few other note apps, and
Disgusting.
it works great. I love it. But I haven't tried. Like this is the thing. When I was doing research, I found a lot of tools. Like there
Yep.
are many, and we haven't even scratched the surface. There are insane amounts, and I wish I could just spend a lot of time and try out Rome, Remnote, and all of these contenders.
Yep.
So, but you're using Rome from day to
Yes.
day? Okay.
Yes. I migrated from OneDrive to Notion to TiddlyWiki to Rome over this last year. It has been hell.
TiddlyWiki. I don't know that
Ti-
one. TiddlyWiki.
TiddlyWiki is essentially 20-year-old open source Rome, but uh, worse in a lot of ways. It's essentially you can have all of your notes in a single HTML file, which is self-contained and does all the code for you. So you
Ah, okay,
own
I see.
everything.
Hmm.
Anyway,
So,
I don't advise TiddlyWiki. It's very useful for a certain use case. However, uh, Rome is where it's at for me. Just for a bunch of bi-directional linking things, and I know Notion has added a couple of things along that lines lately. But what I want is not to organize my notes, and Rome allows me to do that. Notion allows upgrading from OneDrive to Notion was amazing. And in OneDrive, you have a page, and then you can have a sub page, and then a sub page, and then that's it. You run out of sub pages, and you just hit a limit. Uh, in Notion, you could go infinitely nested and put the data wherever you want, and it was amazing. It was so good. But then I started doing it. Then I started organizing my notes, and then it was me just organizing my notes instead of taking notes. It was me going, I should write that down, but where should it go? And that thought haunted me all the time, and I didn't know where to put things, or I would constantly doubt myself of, do I have the right setup? Instead, uh, I have a setup in Rome where I don't have to think about it. I just type a thing with some tags, and it's in the right place already. Because there is no place. Because things don't exist in a location. Everything is just connected.
But like, I'm curious about Rome specifically with regards to Anki. Do
Mhm.
you do Anki exports, or is that a thing you do at all with Rome?
Very early beta of that, not actually properly working. My intention is to have Anki working bidirectional syncing in Rome.
Mm.
Specifically, the Rome API is not yet out. I know the Notion one came out quite some months ago now. I haven't actually
No,
tried that
no,
yet
it's
though.
private. The Notion API is
Oh,
private.
it's private. I thought it was
Yes.
out for paid customers.
No, no, no. As far as I know, I can double check that now that you're saying it. But that's so
Hmm.
on. I signed up for the beta API, so you actually have
Okay.
to have a specific. We're getting ready to, yeah. So that this is something I really care about because
Yep.
we have overlapping thoughts with regards to this.
Yep.
Oops, that's not the one I wanted to share. Sharing the wrong thing again. Stop screen share. This is it's so new, so let's try again, guys. Hopefully, is it this one? Can you guys see it? Hopefully, yeah. So there you can see the application. Yeah, it's correct. So the Notion API, it's in private beta, and so I actually also want to do the what's it called, the bidirectional syncing. This is also something I had in mind, like the way I was thinking about it in my head, right? If you think about it
Yep.
from a user experience, is that you create your Notion page or you create an Anki card, and it instantly reflects a note both ways. And Notion has an ID system. I don't know how it works, but I know there is an ID system because if you look at the HTML that's outputted from Notion, you can see IDs almost everywhere, right?
Yep.
So I think it's possible to make a system where you just type something in Notion, instantly it shows up in Anki, or the other way around. So I don't know if Brain Brew would work in a scenario like that, and because you're gonna have, when Notion comes out with their API, hopefully they're gonna do something groundbreaking, not go the traditional GraphQL or REST API, but do something totally new. That would be amazing. I look forward to seeing what they do, and if the API permits it, based on what they've written in the newsletter for the private beta,
Hmm.
it seems like the use case for syncing data that's going to be there. That's like almost assumed based on the input they're getting. So Notion
Uh,
will have an API to write in, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I,
So
I mean,
then
I mean, I mean, if it doesn't, it's an entirely incomplete API, which is almost useless.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can get the exports out a bit easier than if you just manually do it yourself, but that's really just saving you a step.
but I
Uh,
really do hope they make it so flexible that like I don't know what it's called internally in the implementation, but if it's called block, that they can make
yeah,
even the block level editable or whatever. So
yeah.
then the challenge is Anki, right?
Even if they don't, all Brain Brew would do in this instance is say, give me that page. Okay,
Mm.
find the thing in the page to change it. Say, here's the edited page back, which is kind of wasteful, but if it's the only way to do it, we can do it that way.
Yeah, so I'm definitely interested in discussing more about Brain Brew and how it could potentially be used in Ocean to Anki.
Hmm.
So I don't know how it's
Can
going to look like, because for me, one thing that's super important is to figure out a way to save time on the user, right? So the user
Yep,
doesn't have to go like through all these hoops to do some weird, obscure things.
definitely.
So
Can I just finish a thought I had there
yeah,
before
sure.
though? Uh, so my intention is to have things working in Rome, Notion, blah blah blah, whatever. But the reason that I think that is so doable in my system compared to other systems, and why I think why I think Brain Brew is a lot more flexible, is that I have this middle layer. So the middle layer is a notes. It's made up of four parts: the notes, the note models, the deck info, and the media. Right. So all it does is it converts CrowdAnki into these four parts, which are pretty much already split up already in CrowdAnki, and then it'll take just the notes itself and turn those into the CSVs, matching it with the note models to make sure everything's okay, and then it turns these three into YAML that's saved later on for if you want to import it from source to CrowdAnki again. Okay, so this split, this middle layer, The reason that's important is, let's say tomorrow I add in a new source type of I don't know, let's say it's a YAML. Okay, actually Markdown. Yeah, it's Markdown. I need Markdown tomorrow. It's the most popular one. Everyone wants it. Markdown for everyone. Okay, so I add Markdown support. What does that change in BrainBrew? Uh, what it changes is, instead of writing uh, notes, CSV from notes, you write Markdown from notes, and maybe there's a couple of different keywords Markdown specific to edit. But then CrowdAnki is converted into the BrainBrew middle layer, and then the middle layer, all I've made is this extra part here is middle layer to note to Markdown. Okay, I don't have to write a Markdown to CrowdAnki converter. I just have to make a middle layer to middle layer to Markdown converter. Okay, so my middle layer already converts into CrowdAnki. If someone wants to add a new type, they just have to convert to that. Additionally, what that means is, if someone wants to convert their changes from, oh, that they say, oh, BrainBrew just brought out a new type, you can now do it in Markdown instead of CSV. Okay, they can write a a recipe to say CSV into middle layer into Markdown. You get that for free. All you have to do is make a bridge to the middle layer, and then you can convert from the middle layer into any of the existing source types. I can't do a circle here on this. So
So
do you understand my point here?
not quite, because I am not a CrowdAnki user. So like
It's got
I
nothing really to do with CrowdAnki. It's just if you want to convert from multiple different types, what you would
yeah.
either have to do is write A to B and an A to C and an A
Okay,
to
yeah, yeah,
D
okay.
and
So
an
you're
A to
talking,
F.
yeah, 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 I see. You're talking about the intermediary, right? So
But I'm saying I just convert A to X, and X converts to everything else. So therefore,
mm,
A can convert to everything else. So if you want to add a converter for Notion tomorrow, let's say it's a Notion
mm,
export file, all you have to do is convert that file into my four things, or any number of them really,
mm.
into the notes or into the media, for instance. And as soon as you have these little modular parts, the whole system, the entire system works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because okay, so Brain Brew. So then you could, for example, take Notion and then get CSV, get APKG, and so on. Yeah,
Hmm.
because Brain Brew supports those. I get it. I like the idea. It sounds good,
Yeah,
but I have to try it out and see.
of course, that's no
Hmm.
problem.
But
But
I love the project, like the idea in
mm,
general. So it seems great. And like when you make like if you go from Notion to you have to define what is a flashcard, right? Or what is a card. And we use the toggle, right? If you, I don't know, have you used Notion to Anki? Are you familiar
I
with that
used it in
before?
the past, but it was probably 5 months ago when we spoke for the
Yeah,
first
it
time.
was probably very broken back then. So it's gotten a little bit better. But uh, yeah, so I need to try it out, and I think it's very good to have more new projects here, because Genanki is what we're using. I don't know the maintainer of Genanki
Hmm.
personally, but he has been responsive when we have reported issues, and he has fixed
Yeah.
bugs.
Hmm.
But it is like, yeah, I don't know. Like for me, I'm not sure going the Anki add-on is the way. Because I think the Anki add-on ecosystem is really, yeah, it's not optimal. I know it's easy to enter the
Hmm.
code, the number, but I still think it's too difficult for people. So I'm trying to
Okay.
think and figure out ways to get around that. So I was
Well,
thinking,
here's the thing.
yeah.
I mentioned there that I could add an extra source type, and then all of these source types convert into the CrowdAnki one. But I could also add in GenAnki, for instance, a converter of my middle layer into GenAnki.
So okay,
Then you have
yeah.
CSV converting to GenAnki, Markdown to GenAnki.
Yeah, I don't know how would that work. What is it generating? Is it generating the exact format that Genanki does with the IDs, or
Yeah, sure.
yeah? So
It can do whatever you want. I would just look at the exact format of a Genanki file and make that match. All of the data of the actual cards itself has to be in there. It's just about formatting it correctly.
yeah. And for me, at least, the ID stuff is kind of important based on how people are using it. I don't know if Genanki itself is a file format. It's just the way they're handling the note, or especially the IDs. That's what I care most about. Oh, the way they're
Uh,
checking what changed.
I mean, doesn't Genanki create Anki uh, deck to
It
import?
does. It does create a PKG file.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
So
guess you're right. I guess.
it's basically a zip file, right, with all of
Yeah. Okay.
the usual
Yeah.
stuff.
I
So
guess I can just convert directly into an APG. But the reason that people use CrowdAnki generally instead of an APG is that it's a lot better for updating cards. It's a lot better at finding the differences. Whereas if you take an Anki import itself, a lot of the time it's very bad at that actual job.
yeah, so let's just discuss this for a little bit. I'm curious on your thoughts. So if we are going
Okay.
to support bidirectional syncing from Notion to Anki, right? Anki has a
Hmm.
SQLite database. Like,
Yeah.
how would you go practically around? Let's assume Notion has an API.
Yeah.
So how
Uh.
would you attack the problem?
Uh.
You want any change you make in Notion to just show up in Anki. Any change you make in Anki to just show up in Notion.
I mean, if that's the case, I would say you either have to have a running server or you have to have the Brain Brew as an add-on, which
Hmm.
is running and checking for changes in the background. Do you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that. That sounds like a
Mhm.
good direction.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it sounds like a
Uh,
start because you need something that can detect change, right? Because you
yep.
need to be able to monitor. It doesn't matter if it's coming from a webhook or if it's a database trigger or whatever it is. You just need to be able to listen for events. This change,
Hmm.
this change, this change, and
Yeah.
then do something based on that.
Yeah.
So
That makes
basically,
sense.
the way I'm probably going to solve it is via desktop app, because then we can have like some kind of daemon running with the desktop app, and this daemon would talk to the Notion API, and then it would talk to the Anki database. Because
You
like,
really think a desktop app is simpler for users than an Anki add-on?
yeah, I think so. If you what can you bundle inside of an Anki add-on? Like, I haven't made a lots of Anki add-ons, so I like, would you be able to ship a server process with your Anki add-on, and this server process starts up, and then like, do you
If you
get
write it in Python, yeah.
yeah, so you get file, like, you get the file system APIs, do you get operating system APIs access for things you need?
You just write a Python script and tell Anki to execute it. It can do whatever the hell you like.
Yeah, so okay, then you can basically install any module you want, any Python
Yeah,
module you want, and
yeah.
then use
You
that.
can package the modules with it as well, so that they come as part of the add-on, so that users don't have to install that. They just install the add-on, and the add-on contains the requirements.
Yeah, so basically, this is like, I don't want to get too deep into it. For me, it's like I've just observed what's happened with the various add-ons. So I've had a
Hmm.
huge turnoff on the compatibility stuff and considered it a
Hmm.
no-go, right? It's too
Yeah.
risky making Anki add-ons. That's what I've thought based on what I've seen happen with these different add-ons. Stuff breaks. You get this obscure error message that shows
I,
up. Yeah.
I totally get that. That is the worst part about it, but it's also it's the worst part, but it's come from a good thing. What was that statistic I heard that in 2020 the what was the name Damon the main creator of
Damien.
Anki himself, Damien,
Damien.
yes, thank you, has made more like uh, change commits to Anki than he did in the 5 years before
Yeah,
that.
you can just go look at that on GitHub. Like,
Yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
amazing.
Uh,
Anki is gonna great stuff is gonna happen for Anki. I'm convinced of that based on
yeah, yeah.
development and what's gonna happen in the future. but like it's also very scary from a developer standpoint if you're developing for the ecosystem.
Yes, I totally understand that. I brought that up just to say things break because he's making lots of nice changes in the background, which is both good and bad. But if your intention is for users to have a seamless experience, I think requiring a desktop app is
Mm.
less seamless in that way. If it's just in Anki and perhaps they don't even have to do anything. They open Anki and they get a pop-up that says your notes are synced. They're in Anki and they make a
Yeah.
change and they get a pop-up saying we exported your notes to Notion. You're welcome.
I'm not like I'm always open to change my mind. I need to try out the APIs, the hook APIs, and see where the limit is. And I think maybe this
Yeah.
might be a great project for Brain Brew. So you were saying it's better to wait a few weeks. Is that like
Wait,
6 weeks, 8?
2 weeks.
Okay, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I will hopefully have my initializer done. I'm alone in the flat without the kids for the next day, so we'll
Nice.
see. Kids, not kids. No, yeah.
Kid, yeah. Yeah, so let's start wrapping up.
hmm
Is there anything you would like to plug? Like, we can drop the links in the chat for anybody watching on Twitch and YouTube. I'm gonna have the links in the description. So
Yeah.
see,
Well, I suppose the only thing to plug is my Patreon with a one whole Patreon going there right now. If you like anything that I've said just now, or you think that that would be a good direction for Anki or generally people maintaining decks or sharing them with friends who have any worries about personal data, who want to make changes and make uh, their own little user choice things that currently the ecosystem doesn't support, then feel free and support me just making
yeah,
things online there. There you go, Patreon GM O'Hare. And essentially, I am just a bedroom programmer doing things in his spare time. I try and dedicate 8 hours of the weekend to doing things in Brain Brew. A lot of time in the last couple of months has been dedicated to getting everything up and running with Ultimate Geography as a proper first. This is a thing that people use experience. But from here on out, it's going to be feature, feature, feature. That's what I hope. And this is a thing I truly believe in. And the fact that it's open source means the fact that it's open source and incredibly modular, like I was just explaining to you, means if there's any of you out there with a hope to do some code as well, everything in Brain Brew is written in Python. If you want to export to your favorite formats, say specific Markdown, for an example, it's very simple to make that as a standalone module that doesn't interact with any other parts of Brain Brew. All you have to do is convert from my middle layer to Markdown, and Markdown to the middle layer if you want to do it bidirectionally. If you write in Python to do that, you've made Brain Brew better, and it's incredibly simple to do so. So have a look there, contribute to the Patreon, contribute to the code, anything you can think of. Thank you for your support.
nice. So that there you heard it, guys. So if you want to get started with open source, seems like Jordan is ready to accept contributors, and also I personally know how it is to be supported via open source project. So definitely go check out his Patreon, and I look forward to trying out the project in. Yeah, maybe I can't resist the temptation, and I'll start trying it out already soon. But yeah,
If you can't resist, just pull Ultimate Geography and delete a bunch of useless stuff you don't want.
yeah. So maybe that's something we're gonna stream in the next coming days.
Hey, I mean, if you just want to see it running and see things changing, just pull Ultimate Geography, make a change in the CSV, run source to Anki, see it happen right there. Open Anki, make a change, export it, and then run the backwards one and see it change in your CSV.
Nice, that's a great idea. I'll try that. So
Okay.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go get some chips because I've been wanting chips this week. I saw somebody eat it, and it's Saturday, guys. It's you have to relax a little bit too. So I'm gonna go enjoy some chips. It's gonna be some Norwegian chips, sirloin chips. Have you tried sirloin chips?
I'm confused what you mean by chips. Is this English chips or American chips?
Oh, okay. That's I'm not sure what that even means, to be honest. Like, I have to show you pictures because it's going to be
Okay,
difficult
okay.
to explain, I
Is
think.
it chips or crisps?
What is crisps? I don't know what crisps is. Let me show you here.
Then you probably mean crisps, I expect.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yes,
It's
crisps.
okay. So you don't call this chips? It's crisps.
No, that is an Americanism.
I didn't know that, but it's still delicious. So a
Still
little bit is
delicious.
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go for a little bit. So
Very
thank
good.
you.
Well, when you send the video up, please send me a link. And if you're doing on a future stream a little Brain Brew experimentation, feel free and give me a ping. I can pop into chat and say, no, you're doing everything wrong.
Yeah, backseating. Yeah, I'm gonna do some edits to the video and then it's gonna be up. So thank you for coming, Jordan. I really appreciate you sharing your project, and I hope this is the project, guys. I hope this is what we're gonna use in Ocean to Anki and get some more features.
This is the one. This is the standard. There'll be no more standards. I promise.
Nice. So have a great weekend, Jordan, and I look forward to talking to you in the future again.
You too.
Okay.
Have a good one, Alexander. See
Thanks.
ya.
Bye. So that's it, guys. Make sure to check out his Patreon. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and thanks for everybody who came out to hang out. So bye bye.